Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and thank you, Minister. Minister, the school transport system is absolutely vital system for tens of thousands of families across the country, and especially in rural areas, and I'm sure in your own constituency as well, where there's just no other choice, Minister. You'll be very aware of that. In areas of East Galway, Roscommon, around Haskra, Kilconnell, Ballyforan and Dysart, we don't have a myriad of transport options. There's no Lewis running through these towns or train lines. I've been at public meetings in Ballygar and Mount Bellew, and parents are in despair. It is a lifeline. Making it free, Minister, was a wonderful initiative. It's brought in 44,000 more students and families who are benefiting, and yes, reduced costs for families with transport. However, 122,000 tickets, from my understanding, issued out of 130,000 applications, a shortfall of 8,000 who have applied. If we take those 8,000 travel tickets, average journey 10 kilometres and 2 return journeys, that's 40 kilometres in total per day. We could take 320,000 kilometres per day of individual family journeys off country roads. Imagine the amount of emissions. Imagine the savings on fuels for these families. Minister, we need action now for these families. Thank you very much, Cathaoirleach.
And I would like to thank the senators for raising these matters today. Before I address the specific issues raised, I would like to provide an outline of the very significant extent of the school transport scheme, which provides transport on a daily basis to tens of thousands of children across the country, to both mainstream and indeed special education settings. The purpose of the school transport scheme is having regard to available resources to support the transport to and from school of children who reside remote from their nearest school. In July of 22, Government announced funding for the waiving of school transport scheme fees for the 22-23 school year. And this was part of an extraordinary cost of living measure package. The measure has saved families up to €650 per year. School transport ticket registration for the 22-23 school year closed on the 29th of July, by which time almost 130,000 applications or registrations were received for mainstream school transport. This figure includes 44,299 new applications, as well as rollovers from the previous school year, indicating the very strong level of demand for tickets. Already 124,000 tickets for the mainstream scheme alone have been issued to applicants. At the start of the last school year, there was approximately 103,000 children carried on mainstream school transport services, so already in the region of 21,000 additional places have been created, and have been created free of charge. There has been an increase in tickets allocated across all counties, and we are continuing to process applications and to issue tickets as soon as extra buses and drivers are sourced and become available to provide transport for the higher numbers qualifying for the service. However, regrettably, unprecedented numbers of new applications for the upcoming school year has led to some delays in issuing tickets. The normal eligibility criteria of the scheme still applies, and tickets continue to be allocated in line with this criteria. Pupils at primary level are eligible where they live no less than 3.2 kilometres from their nearest primary school, and at post-primary level, students who live no less than 4.8 kilometres from and are attending their nearest or next nearest post-primary school are eligible. Any pupils who do not meet these criteria are deemed not eligible, or otherwise known as concessionary applicants, and are allocated a ticket, as has been previously the case, based on availability of a seat when all eligible children have been catered for. In line with normal practice, all eligible children who completed the application and ticket registration process on time for the 22-23 school year will be accommodated on school transport services where services are in operation. In addition, pending completion of the outcome of the full review of the school transport scheme, temporary alleviation measures at post-primary level do continue for the 22-23 school year. And as I've previously outlined, these measures will provide transport for students who are attending their next nearest post-primary school. With regard to the review of the school transport scheme, the Department commenced a review of the school transport scheme in February of 21. The review is being conducted with a view to examining the current scheme and how it currently operates, its broader effectiveness and sustainability, and that it adequately supports the provision of services to students and their families. The review encompasses the school transport scheme for children with special education needs also. The review of the primary and post-primary school transport scheme will examine each element of the scheme and includes eligibility criteria, trends, cost drivers and overall effectiveness in meeting the objectives of the schemes. The review will also examine the potential for integration of different strands of the scheme and a more coordinated approach with other governmental departments that also use transport services. Wider considerations relating to operation of the scheme are also taking place in the current phase of the review. As part of the current phase of the review, the Technical Working Group has undertaken extensive consultation, including running a public survey for parents and guardians and students who use the service and those who do not use the service but would like to use the service. These engagements have yielded extensive data for consideration. The group has also consulted with a broad array of stakeholders, including schools, special education interest groups, industry representatives and other government departments. While work on the review was impacted somewhat by the challenges of the pandemic and the impact of the current conflict in Ukraine, it is anticipated that the final phases of the review will be completed shortly, with recommendations on the future operation of the Department's school transport scheme. The steering group will continue to report to me on an interim basis as regards the progress of the review. Thank you.
Minister, there is pure frustration. I know you're very aware of this with families. Parents, there's no space or capacity in the buses. Suddenly, everyone has learned the criteria about full eligible tickets and concessionary tickets, last-minute notice emails, the communication side of things as well, the family portal. Children left on the side of the road. I had a mother from Portiuncula Hospital working there, had to leave the hospital to come out and pick up a child left at the side of the road. Is this the fault of bus drivers? No. Is it the fault of inspectors? No. But we need to be smarter about how we use the resources at hand. And it is an issue because it affects rural Ireland more. It is affecting us more than in urban city centres where there are so many other choices. And we don't have taxis to go bring people from A to B. That doesn't exist. Yes, maybe you're in the town centre, you can do it, but you don't out in rural areas. And Minister, I know this is also a huge issue for you as well. Let's be smarter about using our resources. Let's use the allocation of budget here for private contractors. Let's take into account their extra fuel costs. Let's take the individual travel off the road and reduce emissions. Let's make things safer. Let's help rural Ireland, Minister.
Thank you, Senators. I do want to be clear from the outset that it's important to note that when the announcement was made, it was made in relation to those who avail of the school transport system and are eligible for it. There was no change of criteria in that respect. It was made very clear for those who were eligible for the school transport scheme. So there was no change in relation to that. I think it is significant to note the numbers that this time last year we had 103,000 tickets issued and students availing of it. At this point, we have 124,000 availing of the school transport system and availing of it free of charge. So it has been a considerable cost of living measure for many families, for many of them up to €650. Certainly, I referenced the review because it was specifically referenced in the questions that were put to me as part of the commencement, and that the review is ongoing and the review is charged with looking at eligibility. So there may well be an opportunity going forward to change eligibility, but there was no announcement as regards changed eligibility, Senators, in relation to this particular announcement. I don't for 1 minute underestimate any of the difficulties for families in terms of accessing the school transport system. It is for that reason that I did initiate the review in the first instance. Where there are specific challenges, we continue to work through the challenges that are there, and I think it is fair to say that there have been challenges in terms of additional buses and additional drivers, but again, excellent work is ongoing there, and those who are eligible are being catered for, and where there is scope to do otherwise, as we have seen previously, where there is additional capacity as a consequence of eligibles being catered for, and that will continue going forward, then there will be provision made going forward as well. And I continue to look at every possible avenue that we have here. We continue to look at resources, indeed including discussions with the Minister, Michael McGrath, in relation to it going forward. But I do think it is a significant achievement that we do have 124,000 young people who are availing of free transport at this point. And I just very specifically want to reference a question that was raised in terms of special education. There should be no issue there. And I would appreciate that you might, Senator, share the details of that case with me, because there should not be an issue when it comes to special education.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you.